Welcome back, one and all, to the Boston Celtics Newsfeed, powered by CLNS Media. I'm Mike Walsh, manager of the Celtics Newsfeed, and this is day 3 of our 2017-18 NBA preview. We'll be going day by day in alphabetical order, releasing a new team preview each day leading up to opening night, October 17th in Cleveland. Each of these preview podcasts will be accompanied by an outline blog post to our site, clnsradio.com. Today I'll be speaking with CLNS Celtics Editor at Large, Cory Prescott, whom you can follow on Twitter for the upcoming season at CLNS_Prescott. Cory previewed the Charlotte Hornets for us at the Celtics Newsfeed. We're going to talk a lot about the trade for Dwight Howard, what he means to this team, what the addition of Malik Monk through the draft means for Kemba Walker, and whether we see the Hornets being a legit contender for the Eastern Conference against the Celtics. After getting into two teams the last 2 days in the lower echelon of the conference, the Hornets present our first real competition for Boston. So without further ado, let's get into day 3 of the Boston Celtics Newsfeed's 2017-18 NBA season preview with the Charlotte Hornets and Cory Prescott.
All right, day 3, everybody, of the Boston Celtics Newsfeed's 2017-18 NBA season preview. We're talking the Charlotte Hornets today. Cory Prescott on the line with us, CLNS Celtics Editor at Large. Cory, what's up?
Hey, Mike, how's it going? Glad to be on.
It's going okay. We have 3 days into this, and you have the Charlotte Hornets, and after 2 kind of abysmal days, fucking the Atlanta Hawks and the Brooklyn Nets, who we think are kind of bottoming out once again, we have a team that might actually pose a little bit of a threat in the Eastern Conference. The Hornets, you have last season's 36-46 record, but you have them improving a little bit this season.
Yeah, I think it's a number of combinations. I would lean towards the Eastern Conference as being an absolute dumpster fire at this point. Mm-hmm. Especially when you get down to the 6, 7, 8, 8, 9 range this upcoming season. Plus, you add the artist formerly known as Dwight Howard to this bunch, and I mean he was a part of Steve Clifford's staff, or he was a part of Steve Clifford's teams in Orlando. Clifford coached him 1 year in L.A. Supposedly he's like the Dwight whisperer, so maybe you'll get like a reinvigorated Dwight performance. Regardless, they have a veteran team. They really should at least be in the conversation for that last playoff spot in the East, and then get demolished by either Boston or Cleveland in the first round.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about Dwight day 1 with the Atlanta Hawks preview, and he actually had a pretty solid year last year, and you actually mentioned a little bit in how, once we get a little later on today into the versus the Celtics preview, he averaged a double-double last year, like 13 and 12, somewhere around there, and the trade, obviously, I consider it a big win for Charlotte. Just they shed the Miles Plumlee contract, and really, I think they completely upgrade, even though Howard he's making a lot of money. It's not, I don't think it's any longer than the Plumlee. I think it might even be shorter than the Plumlee deal.
I think it is shorter. I think it's around 2 years if you're counting this upcoming season. So it's really not that bad. Mm-hmm. I guess it's really just the stigma and the locker room, or the negative locker room presence that he brings. That's why Atlanta unloaded him. But he definitely still has the talent, even though it's nowhere near his Orlando days, where he was pretty much a centerpiece of a championship caliber team for a number of seasons. Right.
And you look at those Orlando teams, those were just, they sort of flooded him with a lot of shooters. I'm not sure Charlotte has those shooters around him. Tell me a little bit about what else is going on with the Hornets. What are they going to be putting around Howard this year?
No, they really haven't had a good shooting team under Steve Clifford. They've had a number of decent shooters. They had Courtney Lee a couple years ago, Jeremy Lin, obviously. Last season they had Marco Bellinelli. But then there's, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who, he was sandwiched in between Anthony Davis and Bradley Beal, and he's a great defensive player. A really good locker room guy, good kid by all accounts, but he can't shoot. He took 9 attempts last year from 3, made 1, and he's a small forward. So you can't really have that in the NBA these days. But they also added Malik Monk, who, by all accounts, at least in my opinion, is an absolute steal. Where they got him, the New York Knicks really should have just picked him up and just put him in MSG and let him light it up. But he goes to Charlotte, and he'll back up Kemba Walker. Maybe he'll play a little off guard, a la like a Lou Williams, just look for a scoring shot. But he has the talent to do that. They also added Michael Carter-Williams, who maybe a worse shooter than Kid Gilchrist, just because he shoots on volume. I mean, Kid Gilchrist takes 9 attempts from 3 a year, but Michael Carter-Williams is just throwing up bricks, makes me look good. And they still have, like Frank Kaminsky, Jeremy Lamb, decent shooters, but nothing on the level of where Dwight Howard was, back when he had Rashard Lewis and Hedo Turkoglu, Jameer Nelson, a lot of those guys that were kind of spot-up shooters and good veteran presences.
Right. Yeah, so you mentioned the other offseason moves really, obviously Michael Carter-Williams not going to do much for people, but the Malik Monk entry, you were high on him entering the draft?
Yeah, I really liked him. I think he showed there's a number of things that you can look for. I don't consider myself a college scout by any account, but when you're watching a college game, can a guy get off a shot at any time, especially late in the shot clock? Can he get to the hole? I don't think Malik Monk really got to the free throw line per se, but he was creating off the dribble, creating with his own shot. He didn't really have the traditional point guard skills, but I think that can develop over time. And even if he doesn't really develop those point guard skills, just having another scorer, especially for this bunch, and I wrote about it in the preview, but Kemba Walker is pretty much the number 1A, number 1B scoring option, and I think he's kind of underqualified for that position if you want to be a true contender. The hope here with Charlotte is that Malik Monk can kind of take that scoring pressure even in year one off of Walker. But yeah, I really like Monk, and it would have been fun to see him in MSG, but also would have been fun to see him in Sacramento teaming up with his old friend De'Aaron Fox. So if you're just a basic NBA fan, I guess it's a little bit disappointing to see him go to Charlotte.
Yeah, so looking up and down the Hornets sort of salary list here on Basketball Insiders, there's not a whole lot of moves to make next. It doesn't seem that pretty much everybody's locked up for at least the next 2 seasons. I think Carter-Williams now is their only real expiring deal, and that's even only $2.7 million. So this is really the team that they're going to have, so we can sort of gloss over unless you think there's any big move to make.
No, I did write about Kemba Walker is up pretty soon, and considering the point guard market and how heavy it is, as well as the contracts that are being handed out, a move that they might consider, especially now that you factor in Monk, would be to get rid of Walker while his value is still high right now. He's 27 years old. He's improved every season. I mean, the Celtics traded Isaiah Thomas. Obviously, we got Kyrie Irving back, but they traded Isaiah Thomas, who was a fifth in MVP voting last year, so it wouldn't be crazy to see the Hornets move on from Kemba Walker. But the reasoning there would be just that he's a part of a point guard heavy market. He's 27 right now, and you might have a good player in the waiting. Plus, you're a little bit financially cash strapped with the Dwight Howard contract. They paid Marvin Williams last year, and obviously Nick Batum is vastly overpaid for what he is.
Fantasy football is back, but if you got stuck somewhere else on the night of your league's draft and wound up with a team chock full of nobodies, the full-length season can be a chore. So why not try out FanDuel? I just picked it up this season myself, and I got to tell you, FanDuel is great. Super easy, no long-term commitments. You can pick your team when you want. And as an added bonus for listeners of the Celtics Newsfeed, we've got a promo code. You can try out FanDuel yourself. Go to FanDuel.com, click the Join Now button, and use the code CelticsBeat to try FanDuel for free with no deposit required. Again, visit FanDuel.com to claim your free contest and play for a share of $10,000. Just sign up using the promo code CelticsBeat. That's FanDuel.com, promo code CelticsBeat, void where prohibited.
All right, so we can get into the competition now. We're going through these, and we want to find out how these teams can handle the Celtics, who are going to come in as, if not the favorite, one of the top 2 favorites in the Eastern Conference. So Charlotte, they add Dwight Howard, is your big point in the preview on CLNSradio.com right now. Howard beat up on Horford really last year, and as you tell me, throughout their careers, how do you see that matchup going this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little weird, I guess, that Howard has really taken advantage of Horford throughout their career, individual-wise, but then, looking back at last year, the Hawks really could have gone 3-0 against the Celtics, save for an Isaiah Thomas buzzer beater. Howard didn't really score the ball as he previously did. He averaged 12.7 points, 9.3 rebounds in those 3 matchups against the Celtics. But he helped hold Horford under 7 points per game and under 6 rebounds per game. Horford just looks absolutely lost. A way they could beat the Celtics, and I'm not saying this will happen under any circumstances, but the Celtics were obviously one of the worst rebounding teams last year. Howard is, still one of the best rebounders in the game and a great offensive rebounder as well. If he just takes it to Horford, gets on the glass, maybe the Hornets muck up the game and Kemba Walker kind of plays Irving to a stalemate, then you have a chance to win. But, I mean, they'd really have to muck it up, and Steve Clifford likes doing that as well. Although it'll be interesting to see. Actually, the Hornets have not been a good offensive rebounding team in the past, and I think Steve Clifford is one of those coaches, along with Stevens, who really just bypasses offensive rebounds. And Howard just likes to camp under there, so it'll be interesting to see how they kind of play those two types of games. If they decide to go for offensive rebounds, or if they decide to have Howard just go back on defense all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is interesting to me because this is one of the teams that's going to have that could have, I guess, the two legitimate guards who can score the basketball, who would potentially give Boston that new problem of Avery Bradley's gone, Marcus or Jalen, somebody has to step into that two-guard role and defend that two-guard role with Kyrie handling Kemba. You're going to have somebody on, if Malik Monk, if they're able to play him alongside Kemba, then that's going to pose that problem that we're not going to see all the time. Obviously, we haven't seen in the first 2 days of this preview with Atlanta and Brooklyn.
Yeah, especially with Monk. If Jaylen Brown has to chase around Monk, and I know Monk's a rookie, but he's 6'3", he's quick, gets a shot off really quick. I was really impressed last year watching him at Kentucky. But there's a few strange matchups here that could just kind of create a topsy-turvy game, just kind of a strange type of game. And then if when they play down in Charlotte, it's like a library down there. So it's kind of a weird atmosphere when you get down to Charlotte, and just not a really lot of fan interaction, a lot of fan atmosphere. If you get the game up in Boston, the fans are obviously behind it, and that certainly helps.
All right, so the Charlotte Hornets 2017-18 NBA season preview. Cory Prescott, Celtics editor at large. He has their final record standing 44-38, eighth in the Eastern Conference. Do you see them being able to maybe get a little bit higher than that, or is 8 and maybe even a first-round matchup with the Celtics something you definitely see?
I know. I think they can certainly get higher than that. I'd say their ceiling is, everything goes right, I think they could get up to that 4, 5, 6 range in the East. It all depends on how their health is, how well Dwight plays, if Malik Monk can come in and maybe chip in with 13, 14 points a game right away. But I'd say their ceiling is that, and maybe a first-round win. Absolute worst-case scenario, they miss the playoffs going into the last couple weeks of the season, and it's really just a wasted season.
Yeah, so pretty much their ceiling is the Atlanta Hawks of last year.
Yeah, they have the benefit of just playing in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, all right. That's Cory Prescott, CLNS Celtics editor at large, at CLNS_Prescott on Twitter. Cory, thanks so much for previewing the Charlotte Hornets, and we will talk to you down the road. I think you have another one coming up, right?
I have the Dallas Mavericks, so looking forward to that one. Thanks for having me on, Mike.
We'll talk to you later, Cory.
See ya.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Day 3 of the Boston Celtics Newsfeed's 2017-18 NBA preview. Again, you can get more analysis on the CLNSradio.com site and view any of our previous episodes at youtube.com/CLNSmedia. Follow CLNS on Twitter at CLNS Media and myself at CLNS_Walsh. Also be sure to subscribe to the Celtics Newsfeed, rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, and of course the CLNS Media Network's mobile podcast app. Tune back in tomorrow when I'm going to speak with a special guest during my preview for the Chicago Bulls. Once again, this is Newsfeed Manager Mike Walsh signing off.